Like what?
I do not know that, but that has been the pattern before.
That's our Miss Sonia. You have such an amazingly high intellect.
So da.
Alrighty then. Let's think about this based on what Miss Sonia thinks. Is that okay, Miss Sonia?
Damn right it is!
The reason for the fire, huh? They are right. We need to clear that up first. Haben wir schon indirekt drüber gesprochen, als wir bei den Ermittlungen waren. Okay, es ist schon da. Ich denke, jeder weiß, worum es geht, aber wir gehen es trotzdem mal gemeinsam durch.
The direct cause of the fire was the oil lighter found at the crime scene, right?
The killer used some kind of setup. He lit the curtain on fire with the lighter.
Some kind of setup?
Did they use the oil as an improvised fuse?
They probably just threw the lighter.
Na.
Based on the shape of that oil lighter, it can stand upright while the flame is lit.
If they tipped over the lighter in some way, it could have ignited the curtain.
Some way?
Maybe they used invisible thread.
Nee.
There should have been a way to tip it over with sound waves.
Aber natürlich.
Or perhaps opening the door caused intense wind pressure to tip over the lighter.
Some kind of setup used to start that fire. So what could it be? Ne, die jetzt nicht unbedingt. Also es sind ja solche Zippo-Feuerzeuge, die gehen dann nicht unbedingt aus. Aber ich denke schon, dass wir wissen, was dazu geführt hat, dass überhaupt das Feuer angehen konnte.
The direct cause of the fire was the oil lighter found at the crime scene, right?
Erinnern wir uns mal an die
The killer used some kind of setup.
an die Aufsteller von Monokuma, die da
He
aufgereiht
lit the
waren.
curtain on fire with the lighter.
Some kind of setup?
Did they use the oil as an improvised fuse?
They probably just threw the lighter.
Based on the shape of that oil lighter, it can stand upright while the flame is lit.
If they tipped over the lighter in some way, it could have ignited the curtain.
Some way?
Maybe they used invisible thread.
Nee, Elizabeth Thread war's nicht.
There should have been a way to tip it over with sound waves.
Nein.
Or perhaps opening the door caused.
I
Genau das
agree
ist
with
es
that.
nämlich. Haben wir schon drüber gesprochen, Pim. Ich glaube, du hast es sogar angebracht, das
I
Argument.
also agree that opening the door is what started the fire.
Just as I thought, it was the wind pressure. A dust devil blown here from glorious Japan!
No, not wind pressure. They probably used the Monokuma panels. A huge number of tipped-over Monokuma panels were found at the crime scene, right? It looked like they were scattered everywhere, but some were laying on top of each other in a single line.
Die haben auch hinten angefangen zu brennen, wie man sieht.
Just a single line leading from the warehouse door to the fire's origin.
Does that mean anything?
The killer probably arranged those Monokuma panels to create a domino effect.
A domino effect. You mean those tiles kids play with by lining them up and tipping them over?
Right?
In place of those tiles, the killer used the Monokuma panels. So when we opened the warehouse door, the first panel toppled into the second. And from there, they fell like dominoes until they reached the lighter at the end.
But wouldn't it be obvious that those big panels were falling over?
That's probably why they turned off the lights in the warehouse, so we wouldn't notice them.
So the reason the warehouse was dark was to hide the domino effect.
And one more thing. There was something else the killer did to hide the domino effect, right?
The killer did one other thing to hide the domino effect. Ja, natürlich. Überleg mal, wir hätten das doch gehört, oder nicht? Und darum hat er das Ding benutzt, damit wir es nicht hören.
I see! You're talking about the MP3 player, right? That hymn blaring throughout the warehouse masked the sound of the falling panels.
The inside of the warehouse felt even darker because our eyes were still used to the bright sunlight outside. Within that darkness, a loud hymnal blared throughout the warehouse at full volume. Hey, do you guys hear something? Yeah, it's really damn loud. Does Nagito like listening to this depressing crap? No, I'm not talking about the music. And as if on cue, it suddenly started.
That's it. So the strange sound was actually the sound of the panels falling.
But those sounds weren't the only strange thing, right? Looking back on it, it was also strange when we opened the door to the warehouse.
It's fine. I'll open it slowly. No, that's not the problem. Seriously, it'll be fine. With those words, Akane brushed off everyone's warnings and slowly opened the door to the warehouse. Huh? It's not opening. Is there something blocking the door? I can barely open it. I knew it. It's a trap. Seriously, just stop it, okay? Didn't I tell you it'll be fine? It just gotta use a little more force. What happened to opening it slowly? Akane ignored their protests and with a mighty kick, the door flew open.
Ah, so the door was being blocked by a Monokuma panel.
And when we opened the door, the domino effect started, and the falling panels eventually reached the lighter.
Yeah, and that's how the warehouse caught on fire. At least, that's how it looks.
You don't look so sure.
At the time, Akane mentioned that she could barely open the door.
Because the panel was blocking it, right?
But the blocked doorway, there wasn't enough space for a person to fit through, right?
Stimmt.
Is that a problem?
Ich glaube, ich weiß, worauf sie hinaus will.
It's a major problem. I mean, that door was the only entrance to the warehouse.
Wie soll man sonst da rauskommen? If that door was the only entrance to the warehouse. I see. So the problem Chiaki's talking about is the killer couldn't have left.
I see!
If the panel was so close to the door that it could barely be opened, the killer inside the warehouse wouldn't be able to leave, right?
Now that you mention it.
Does that mean they were hiding inside?
Who? We were all outside the warehouse, you know.
Based on the patterns up until now, I believe some kind of setup was used.
You don't have to think so hard. There's actually only one person who could have possibly done this.
Huh?
You don't mean...
But if that's true, this murder... Kann ja eigentlich wirklich nur einer gewesen sein, aber wie bitte?
Hajime? What do you mean?
The person who set up the domino effect inside the warehouse. There's only one person who could have done that. Kann er ja nur selber gewesen sein eigentlich.
This is my answer.
Weil es war ja sonst niemand da.
What if it was Nagito?
Why'd you bring him up? He's the victim, you know.
He wasn't just the victim. Maybe.
Huh?
Not just the victim? What does that mean?
He was the victim. And he was the perpetrator, too. Maybe.
Are you saying this was a suicide? Don't be stupid. His body was covered in torture wounds. Or did you already forget?
Ja, das könnte aufgrund seiner Verzweiflung gewesen sein. Der hat sich selbst einfach alles weggeschlitzt.
Are you saying those were all self-inflicted?
But Nagito might do something like that, don't you think?
That's not the issue. He was tied up, remember? Even for a creep like Nagito, it'd be impossible for him to tie up his own arms and legs.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, as long as you understand.
Das ist es ja. Eine Hand war frei.
It seems we need to discuss how Nagito was able to tie himself up.
need to discuss? That's not necessary at all. No matter how much you think about it, it's clearly impossible.
Like he said, it seems impossible if you think about it, but I feel like I'm overlooking something. So, dann schauen wir uns doch mal wieder an, was kommt. Ich habe eine Vermutung.
To actually tie up your own arms and legs. That's obviously impossible!
Tying just the legs is one thing, but tying both arms would be impossible.
You couldn't do much with the free arm.
It'd be impossible if you were by yourself.
Ja, wer
How about
weiß.
if you use your teeth?
Na, tief
Or if
bestimmt
you
nicht.
use your front tail?
Nee.
Dirty joke! Is that a dirty joke?
If our assumption that Nagito committed suicide is correct, Nagito should have tied himself up too. That's okay, right?
To actually tie up your own arms and legs. That's obviously impossible!
Tying just the legs is one thing, but
Wir müssen jetzt einmal
tying both
warten.
arms would be impossible.
You couldn't do much with the free arm.
It'd be impossible if you were by yourself.
How about if you use your teeth? Or if you use your front tail?
Dirty joke! Is that a dirty joke?
To actually tie up your own arm.
No, that's wrong! Hold on a sec. Isn't that premise flawed?
What? I mean, it's no mistake that his arms and legs were...
No, it shouldn't have been both of his arms.
Stimmt doch gar nicht, der war ja gar nicht
The
komplett
rope on his right
angefesselt.
arm was completely burnt up. Based on that, you can't say he was tied up.
That was just burned by the fire. He should have been tied up before then.
It burned because of the fire. Like you said, it might look like that. But that was part of the trap. There's concrete evidence that proves it.
To prove that the burn... Ja, sein Arm, sein Ärmel, ne?
I see!
Take a close look at his right sleeve.
Da ist doch nichts angebrannt.
Even though the rope was burnt up, his sleeve wasn't burned at all. Wouldn't you agree? A burn like this, no matter how you think about it, is unnatural. That rope was burned in advance so it would look like it was burned in the fire.
Then Nagito's right arm wasn't tied up, right? He was able to move it freely, right?
Yeah, that should be the case.
Hajime, that's awesome! I'll let you cop a feel if you want.
Akane, you should not give it away for free. Make sure they pay you first.
That's definitely wrong.
Fine. I just gotta get a Benjamin from him before I let him touch me, right?
That's not what I meant. I'm talking about Nagito. I mean, even if his right hand wasn't tied up, the knife was still stabbed into it, you know?
It's impossible to stab a knife into your right hand with your right hand.
Ah, that much is obvious.
Hajime, you tricked me! Give me back that Benjamin!
Not only did she try to charge me, now she wants the money back? What the heck?
Hold on. There should be a way.
Then hurry up and spill it!
If it's something lame, I'll make you give back the Benjamin with 10,000% interest.
A way to stab yourself in your right hand using only your right hand. It's okay, there's definitely an answer for this. Ich habe eine ganz dumpfe Vermutung, was es ist. Dafür hole ich nochmal die Beweise raus. Muss nämlich gerade mal was nachgucken. Wie ich es mir dachte. Wie ich es mir dachte. Okay. Ich nehme das mal unter Verdacht, aber ich werde gleich erklären, was ich damit meine.
Even if Nagito's right hand was free, how could he stab his right hand with his right hand?
If he threw the knife into the air and let the knife fall, could he stab his hand that way?
Is he a throwing knife expert?
Maybe he propped the knife somehow? And slammed his right hand down on it?
Das ist es nämlich.
Propped it onto what?
If he just propped the knife, he could have used his bound left hand.
If you're tied up, your arms won't bend that easily. We don't know if his left hand could even reach his right hand.
Der wird den Bären präpariert haben und dann seine Hand draufgeknallt haben. Nagito could only use his right hand to stab himself in the palm. Then how did he do it? Das heißt, er hat das Ganze
Right
präpariert.
hand was free, how could he stab his right hand with his right hand?
If he threw the knife into the air and let the knife fall, could he stab his hand that way?
Is he a throwing knife expert?
Maybe he propped the knife
Deswegen habe ich mir das
somehow?
Loch gerade so angeguckt.
I agree with that. The life-sized Monokuma plushie. He must have used that to prop the knife.
Makes sense. That's why there was a big hole in the plushie's stomach. He inserted the knife handle into that hole to prop it up. Then he slammed his hand onto it. If that's it, he had to place the plushie near him. And it also explains the mysterious blood on the plushie.
So the blood on the plushie came from Nagito after he stabbed the knife into his own right hand.
I see. So that's the trick.
But for a moment, I seriously thought Monokuma died or something.
A bleeding plushie is super scary. It's got the same fear factor as a doll whose hair grows too long.
After stabbing his hand, he no longer needed the plushie, so he cast it off toward the fire's origin point.
He probably thought the fire would incinerate it and destroy the evidence.
So what do you think now, Fuyuhiko?
I get what you're saying about the wound on his right hand, but there's still one huge problem. The spear. Basically, you're saying Nagito committed suicide by impaling himself with a spear, right? If you think about the order, getting killed by the spear should have been the last thing to happen to Nagito. If that's true, how is that possible? He can't grab a spear with his right hand if a knife is stabbed into it and his left hand was all tied up.
Then he probably took the spear first, and as he endured the pain, he stabbed the knife into his right hand.
There is a limit to his constitution. If you got penetrated by something so big and thick, you would die instantly.
I'm sorry, I didn't catch all that.
Like I said, if you got penetrated by something so big and thick, you would die instantly.
Say it one more time. I need to record it. For reasons.
Hey, bastard, you better cut it out!
Like she said, in that condition, it's very difficult to stab yourself with a spear. It'd be hard to use a spear with a knife stabbed into your right hand while your left hand is tied up.
So you're saying it's impossible?
But no matter what I think, I can't believe Nagito's death was caused by someone else.
I also agree with that. To think that one of us could kill someone with such cruelty, I could never believe that.
You say you can't believe it? You just don't want to believe it, right? But that's why you keep getting betrayed over and over again, right? Same goes for this time, too.
You just shut your mouth. It's against the rules to interfere with everyone. If you even think about doing anything, I have a plan of my own.
Monome's sassing me!
But it's just as Monokuma said. We've been betrayed over and over again so far, so this might also be the same. Calling this a suicide takes too much for granted, and it's too convenient.
Then are you saying there is a killer among us, Kazuichi?
Of course that doesn't include Miss Sonia and me.
As Kazuichi said, it's true we've been constantly betrayed. But even if I'm betrayed again, I still want to believe in everyone. No matter how many times I may be betrayed, I still want to believe in everyone.
I also want to believe that there's no killer, but suicide is unimaginable.
Do you really think so?
But you said it too. It'd be impossible for him to stab himself with a spear in his condition.
I did say difficult, but I never said impossible.
Huh?
I feel that there's some way he could have stabbed himself with that spear.
What kind of way?
I don't know.
You don't know.
It's impossible to figure out by myself. So let's think about it together. That's how. We made it this far up till now.
So echt.
Everyone, working together.
She's right. We've made it through several ordeals up till now by doing that. Then even now.
All right, let's do this.
Gehen wir mal alles durch. Hören wir uns erstmal alles an.
How did Nagito stab himself with a spear? Let's work together and think this through.
When the spear stabbed Nagito, his right hand was covered by the knife, right?
He was only able to move his left hand.
Ja.
But his left hand was also tied up.
And that rules out his left hand.
Ich weiß nicht.
If that's the case, the only other way is...
He used his teeth? Or
Wahrscheinlich.
maybe he used his front tail.
Mein Gott,
I know
ey.
guys have tails that get hard when they're grabbed.
What are you saying?
A blushing Miss Sonia is freaking awesome!
If Nagito committed suicide, then he must have used that spear to stab himself. Überlegen wir doch mal. Ich weiß nicht, ob da noch eine Aussage kommt, deswegen gehen wir das nochmal durch. Könnte er vielleicht mit der linken Hand den Speer gehalten haben oder irgendwas gehalten haben? Das Gewicht vielleicht? Ich versuch's mal. Even if his arms and legs were tied up, there's no doubt he used some part of his body. The only thing he could have used is...
How did Nagito stab himself with a spear? Let's work together and think this through.
When the spear stabbed Nagito, his right hand was covered by the knife, right?
He was only able to move his left hand.
But his left hand was also tied up.
Then that rules out his left hand.
Nee, das macht
No,
es
that's
nicht.
wrong.
Nee. Na,
Hold on.
na.
It's still too early to dismiss the possibility that he used his left hand.
Why? I mean, his left hand was tied up, you know?
But there was something off about his left hand. The bloodstain on the palm of his hand. Don't you think it looked somewhat strange? He only had blood on the lower area of his palm. Beyond that point, the bloodstain suddenly cuts off, right?
When the blood splattered, that's as far as it reached, right?
No.
That settles the description of that bloodstain, but it's not the only unnatural bloodstain. Look, there's blood on the back of his hand. around the middle joints of his fingers.
Like you said, it looks like an unnatural bloodstain, but what's wrong with that?
We might need to think and use our imaginations for a bit.
Der wird doch nicht wirklich die Kordel in der linken Hand gehalten haben. Ja, von dem Speer. Und das oben um diese Gitter rumgebunden haben. Wir haben ja gesehen, oben an den Rafters, da hing ja auch ein bisschen, war ja ein bisschen Blut. Und dann, als ihn die Kraft verlassen hat, wird er losgelassen haben und dann ging der Speer runter. Geradeaus.
If there's blood on his palm and the back of his hand, what was his left hand doing as the blood splattered?
Hiding, open, ripping the back of his hand. Ich meine, der wird da was gegriffen haben, ne? Das ist ja meine Vermutung jetzt.
When the blood splattered, he was probably gripping with his left hand. That's why there's such a strange-looking bloodstain on his palm and the back of his hand.
Was he grabbing his front tail?
Perish the thought! He was obviously grabbing the spear!
Now that you mention it, compared to the rest of his body, the wounds on his left arm are pretty mild. He probably made his wounds mild on purpose, so he could keep his strength while he gripped the spear.
But even if he held the spear with his tied-up left hand, it'd be impossible for him to stab himself.
That's right. That's the problem.
Hey, Chiaki, what do you think? Hey, don't tell me you're getting sleepy.
At times like this, you should always strike from a good angle, just like fixing an old TV.
Oh, I got it. Maybe.
Huh? Really?
Yeah, like I thought. It's no mistake that Nagito was gripping the spear. I think. However, what's important is what section of the spear he was gripping.
Es läuft tatsächlich darauf wohl hinaus. Ich gucke mir den Speer nochmal an. The spear impaled through Nagito's stomach. A cord with an iron weight at the end of it extends from the back of the handle. For some reason, only the section where the cord and weight touch is bloody. Okay. Which section of the spear? The cord.
I see!
That's it. Instead of the handle, Nagito must have been holding on to the cord. There was a metal weight at the tip of the cord, but there were bloodstains on that part too.
Ich glaube, sie kann sich das auch kaum vorstellen.
The joint between the weight and the cord had a bloodstain shaped like it was cut off by something.
Isn't the size of that cut-off section about the same size as a human fist?
Ah, you're right. So this is the part Nagito was gripping, huh? And then the blood that was supposed to end up here ended up getting on Nagito's left hand.
But why is it so important to know which part of the spear he was gripping?
You're not gonna say he gripped the tip of the cord, swung the spear around, and stabbed himself, right?
Oh.
That is where the clue to solve this mystery resides. Right, Chiaki? I am sorry. Of course this mystery will not be solved that easily.
Nagito was gripping the cord extending from the butt of the spear with his left hand. But from there, how would he stab himself in the stomach with the spear? Ich habe zu viele Krimis gesehen, um das so zusammenzusetzen. Wenn das passt, ne?
It seems we are stuck. Shall we have tea time?
At a time like this. How about we stick to the plan to think one step at a time instead of expecting the answers all at once?
That's a long plan name.
One step at a time? What does that mean?
To take one step at a time.
Let's focus on the spear first. Namely, where it was and how it was positioned just before it impaled Nagito.
How it was positioned.
Das ist doch schon der Hinweis eigentlich mit dem Positionieren. Nagito was facing up and the spear was stabbed through his stomach. So if it's just before that... That's it. Could it be? The state of the spear and the fact that Nagito was holding the tip of the cord attachment. If I put those together and I think about it, I should be able to figure out where the spear was and what state it was in before Nagito stabbed before it stabbed Nagito. Logic dive time. Juhe! So. Where was the spear just? Above Nagito. Wow! What the? Was soll das denn? Fies! Baut der Toni einfach hier so Bomben auf. Dude. Mann! Ich will Gas geben. Lass mich vorbei. Ja, genau! Was soll das denn? Ceiling Girder. War klar. Hier ran vorbei. Da vorbei. Jawohl. Ich hab's. Ja, lass mich da vorbei, danke. Du lässt mich da vorbei. Dankeschön. Und du ganz links. Und du ganz rechts. Wunderbärchen. So. Das Cord müsste das sein, wenn ich das richtig vermutet habe. Hat eine Katastrophe.
It's all coming together.
Jeden Schneemauggri rein.
The spear impaled Nagito as he was laying face up. It must have been perpendicular to him just before that.
Perpendicular? In the middle of the air?
Yup.
If Nagito did that all by himself, did he have some sort of ESP?
That'd be awesome, but he probably used the ceiling girder directly above him.
Nagito probably slung the cord over the ceiling girder, and using that as a support. He hoisted the spear directly above him. And if Nagito let go of the cord, the spear would have fallen and impaled him while he was laying face up.
I noticed a slight red streak on the ceiling girder. It probably got smeared there during the setup.
The blood on the cord probably rubbed off on the ceiling girder as the spear was falling. So, how about it? Using this method, Nagito could have impaled himself with the spear.
Are you serious? He really committed suicide? Like that?
He probably chose that spear so he could commit suicide like that. If someone else did this, there's no reason they'd go to all this trouble just to kill someone with a spear.
I agree. When I was investigating this case, I kept thinking over and over how strange it was. Why did the killer use the knife and the spear so differently?
So you're saying he needed to use that spear to pull off his trick?
Then, this is for real? He really committed suicide?
Obviously he did.
Every single wound on his body. That was all him?
Not just that, he did all that while he was gripping the spear? That spear should not have stabbed Nagito until the very end. Which means Nagito wounded himself while he was gripping that spear, right?
Did he put the duct tape on his mouth too?
He probably covered his own mouth so we wouldn't hear him screaming in pain.
Did he need to go that far? That's beyond crazy. Why would he do that to himself?
He was probably trying to get us to make a mistake. By committing a suicide that looked like a murder, he was trying to steer us toward the wrong answer. His goal was to get us all executed.
And that's why he stabbed himself over and over again?
Did he want us to die that bad?
That's messed up. That's seriously so messed up.
Yeah, that's our Nagito.
Jeez, I was starting to feel a little sympathetic toward him. How stupid of me. I completely underestimated his capacity of malice. A mind-boggling malice that threatens us even after he's died. That's the form his malice took. I had forgotten all about it until now. If he was here now, he'd probably be sneering at me.
However, there is one thing I still do not understand. He said he would reveal the traitor, right? Whatever became of that?
He was probably planning to kill the traitor along with the rest of us.
So why did he not just do that in the first place? If he had no qualms with killing everyone, he did not have to cause a bomb scare to reveal the traitor.
Okay.
I bet the bomb scare was part of the strategy behind this trick. He made us split up and search for a bomb so none of us would have an alibi. He created a scenario where any of us could have killed him.
He tried to make us doubt each other and tried to hide the truth behind his suicide.
Did he cause a bomb scare for that reason alone?
He's a fucking bastard who killed himself for his delusions of grandeur. It's not that unthinkable.
You are right, I suppose.
Yeah, it appears we've come to a conclusion. Bastard Nagito committed suicide. It was all done by him so we'd be executed.
That should be okay, right? Right?
What? You're not satisfied yet?
No, I agree that Nagito killed himself, but I feel like there's something that doesn't make sense. It's probably just my imagination.
Gegen ihn war nichts anderes. Ich glaube eher, dass er verzweifelt war, weil er den den Traitor nicht gefunden hat, obwohl er so große Töne gespuckt hat. Why? I mean, I sort of understand what she's talking about. I don't think it's a mistake to assume that Nagito committed suicide, but why do I feel so uneasy about? Weil er hat ja gesagt, ich werde den Verräter rausfinden, auch wenn es mich mein Leben kostet. Is it because we don't know who the traitor is? Or...
So what are you gonna do? Is it okay to proceed with the voting time?
What do you think, Akane?
Well, there's no doubt Nagito's death was a suicide. Oh well, I guess my gut is wrong sometimes.
You are right. It is not as though we can draw any other conclusion.
Then it's okay to end it here, huh? That means we're done with this last class trial and we can leave this island, right? It's okay to reach such a happy ending, right?
Then it's okay? It's okay to say, you've decided on the killer? Understood. Then voting time.
No, hold on a sec.
Hold on. Why?
Sorry, just a little more. I want you guys to wait just a little more. I can't help but feel like there's still something we overlooked.
Like who the traitor is?
But the issue here is who killed Nagito, right? Even if we identify the traitor, the conclusion won't change.
That's true, but...
The mystery isn't just about who the traitor is.
Huh?
No matter how you look at it, Nagito's death is a suicide. But I'm a little worried, you know? I'm worried about starting the voting time while there's still a mystery.
Stimmt. Da ist was. Schauen wir uns doch noch mal, Steht da irgendwas von der Todesursache? Ich habe mich nämlich gerade schon gewundert, als wir am Anfang uns das Ding angeguckt haben. Da steht nur die Todeszeit und was an dem Körper gefunden wurde. Aber da steht nichts von der Todesursache. Sonst haben wir doch immer eine Todesursache da stehen. Und das Gift haben wir ja auch gefunden. Das hat ja bis jetzt auch keine Verwendung. Bis jetzt haben wir noch gar nichts von dem Gift gehört. Das heißt, irgendwas muss da noch sein. Irgendwas stimmt da noch. Stimmt da doch nicht. I'm a little worried. I'm worried they're starting the voting time.
Hey, what do you mean it's not about who the traitor is? What kind of mystery is left?
There's just one thing that doesn't make sense, and it relates to Nagito's death. Plus, it's something even Nagito couldn't influence. He couldn't even tamper with the evidence for it.
Something related to Nagito's death. And it's something that even he couldn't have messed with.
You're gonna keep going? Here, I thought we were finally finished.
Something related to Nagito's death. A piece of evidence that even he couldn't mess with.
I see!
Is it about the Monokuma file?
Yeah, that's it.
Huh? There was something suspicious in the Monokuma file?
Guckt doch nochmal nach, das seht ihr doch. The victim is Nagito Komaeda. The body was discovered inside the warehouse near the Monokuma plushie factory. The estimated time of death is believed to be noon sharp. Not only is there a spear stabbed in his stomach, there are multiple stab wounds on each his thighs. Furthermore, there's a laceration on his left arm and a knife impaled through his right hand. The suspicious part of the Monokuma file that Chiaki is worried about is... What is it? What's hidden in the Monokuma file? Mal kurz. Ja, ist doch klar. Also sorry, also ich hab's, was da fehlt. Alter! Alter, willst du mich jetzt verarschen oder was? D. E. E. A. Alter, willst du mich jetzt verarschen? Wo sind die Buchstaben, die ich brauche? T. Oh.
I got it!
Das war jetzt nervig.
In this particular case's Monokuma file, there's no specific cause of death.
Wir haben keine Todesursache. Not only there's a spear stabbed in his stomach, there are multiple stab wounds. Furthermore, there is a laceration on his left arm and a knife.
Isn't that weird? Until now, the files always specified the cause of death.
Das meine ich ja. Wir haben immer eine Angabe der Todesursache gehabt und am Anfang hat Mikan noch immer die Autopsien gemacht. Das heißt, das fehlt. Es fehlt eine konkrete Angabe.
Death is obvious, is it not?
Ja, aber die wird doch trotzdem auch immer angegeben, wenn sie offensichtlich war.
The spear in Nagito's stomach. It is obvious just by looking at it that it was a cause of death.
War die Todesursache bei den anderen nicht auch offensichtlich?
Maybe it's not included if it's not important enough to write about.
Well, Monokuma?
I plead the fifth!
There he goes again! I'm so appalled that I have nothing to say.
Ich stelle mir gerade mal das vor, wie wäre das, wenn das mit dem Controller gemacht werden würde. Diese Stelle jetzt. Die war ja wirklich extrem nervig.
But even during Gundam's case, and before during Mikan's case, the thing he purposely omitted from the Monokuma file was always the most important mystery in the case.
Are you saying that applies this time too?
Hold on a sec. Then, are you saying there's more to Nagito's death? Are you suggesting again that his death wasn't a suicide?
You guys were the ones who said it was a suicide in the first place.
No, I don't think it's a mistake to call Nagito's death a suicide, but it's not just a suicide. Come to think of it, did Nagito really commit suicide just to get us all killed?
Are you sticking up for him?
That's not what I meant. I mean it in a bad sense.
Bad sense?
I just remembered that his malice always defied our expectations, and that concerns me. For example, would that malice just end here?
Huh?
Did Nagito's malice drive him to risk his life for a truth we'd reach this easily? I mean, this is Nagito we're talking about, you know?
How interesting! You sure do believe in Nagito, huh? Because you believe in his malice, you continue to suspect his malice. I see. I guess that's what passes for friendship these days.
What friendship?
What should we do, you guys? Should we proceed with the vote? I think we should keep going until everyone is satisfied. Even if it's just to be safe.
You're right. We only get one chance to vote after all.
Ich glaube, Chiaki hat eine Befürchtung.
Just to be safe, huh? Guess I have no choice. If that's the case, I'll do my best to go along with it.
This is friggin' annoying. But if you guys say you're doing it, there's no way I'm gonna back out.
Hey, Monokuma! You heard us. The voting's gonna have to wait!
We've come this far. Let's work hard till the very end. If we work together, everything should be all right. That's what I believe.
Everything's gonna be alright.
Aww. Splendid. You guys are so splendid right now. That's right. If all your hopes are united, no despair can shake you.
If all your hopes are united, no despair can shake you, huh? Now that I think about it, Nagito said the same thing. The absolute hope that can overcome any despair. He said he was yearning for that. Then the situation we're in might be the thing that Nagito wanted all along. No, never mind. I'm probably overthinking. Suspended. Mal wieder eine Pause.
No!
Man, my heart was racing like crazy when I thought the voting time was gonna start, but... Well, if you think about it rationally, there's no way it was gonna happen. We haven't done this bit yet. Most of the players probably figured out that too. You're the only one who didn't know. Isn't that right, Monomi? Hey, how much longer are you planning to sulk? Let's get along like we always do. Alright, you passed. Friendship is measured by how long you can stand the silence when you're all alone with someone else. So, Monomi and I are bestest of best friends. Don't say such stupid things. I hate you so much right now. Enough. Why do I have to be hated that much? Besides the fact that you snap at me like that, I don't trust you at all. Not even a teensy tiny 1mm bit. How sad. Distrusting your friend is much more shameful than being betrayed by that friend, you know? We aren't even friends in the first place. Then, as your older brother, let me say this. You're not even my brother. It's sad to live a life without friendship. It's even sadder than watching a high school rom-com full of guys. Well, there may be some demands for that.
Oh,
I fell for it. I totally took the man-bait. Uh-oh. Ja, Leute. Cliffhanger-Night-Zeit. Wir haben kurz vor 10. Ich habe noch ein bisschen was zu erledigen. Deswegen werde ich jetzt an dieser Stelle tatsächlich passenderweise auch speichern und dann Schluss machen für heute. Das heißt, ich habe zwar eigentlich gesagt, morgen gibt es kein Danganronpa, aber ich habe gerade mal nachgeschaut. Natürlich habe ich Zeit. Letzte Woche ist ja ein Termin gewesen, weswegen ich keine Zeit hatte. Aber der Termin ist ja nicht regelmäßig. Das heißt, ich kann morgen ganz normal weitermachen mit Danganronpa. Morgen früh um 7 Uhr, halb 8 um den Dreh wird es dann weitergehen. Ich werde es nicht in das Streaming-Schedule reinschreiben. Und dann werden wir hoffentlich den Fall lösen. Und heute Nachmittag, wie gesagt, 16 Uhr, haltet mal Ausschau, könnte durchaus mit Final Fantasy VIII weitergehen. Und heute Abend, wie gesagt, wie versprochen, der Okami-Stream, der gestern dummerweise ausgefallen ist. Also, ich wünsche euch noch einen angenehmen Resttag. Und wir sehen uns dann vielleicht im Laufe des Tages oder beim nächsten Mal bei Danganronpa. Bis dahin, sprach der Raven Knight nimmermehr und bleibt sauber, oh boy.